Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new entitled people content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled, HOA Rules Need to Be Followed? Sure. TLDR. You want to complain? Sure. I will give you plenty of reasons to do so, but nothing you can do anything about. The setup. Our tale begins in my teen years about 10 to 11 years ago. It was summer and my parents wanted to go on vacation. Me being a 16-year-old dumbass with both a gaming addiction and seeing my K to living the free independent unsupervised life, must like a house cat with an open door for 2 weeks opportunity, offered to house and dog sit while they and my sister went on vacation. Some important background information is probably needed here, since else some dumbasses here might call my parents neglectful for leaving a 16-year-old unsupervised for 2 weeks. I'm from a way safer and secure place than the US. We lived in the suburb and I was taught most life skills by the time I was 12. The only dangers I could be exposed to would be alcohol poisoning, and strains to my wrist from the insane amount of rounds I would force my poor member through during the 2 weeks. You know, the typical threats for a boy in a country in which 16-year-olds can buy beer. The Boy and the Karen Megasaurus Rex. Night schedule week 1. While gaming took 90% of my time away and I developed the day in of a back-end developer, I still did all the chores around the house with a few exceptions since I deemed they could wait. I checked the mailbox and there is a handwritten letter with runes of the ancient. Using my old doctor's notes as a Rosetta Stone, I deciphered that it was from the president of our equivalent of an HOA. Imagine an HOA with a fifth of the power the typical HOA in US would have. A Hawkeye of the HOA Avengers. If it was in a sport, it would only receive participation awards. You get the point. The Moria written tomb said that the grass of my front lawn was too tall according to regulations. I went out, took a look at the grass, which was maybe 1 centimeter too tall. That's the equivalent of a jelly bean to my freedom measurement folks. Same day I cut the grass. Cause might as well do so to keep the peace. The day after, a new letter written by the same Shakespeare wannabe came. I grabbed my Indiana Jones hat and performed a heathen ritual in the shed to read the message. The roses in my front yard were going too far out through the fence by 15 centimeters. That's an average-sized carrot in Maracana. I once again comply. On the third day of shitmas, the true cause of annoyance said to me, my backyard's bushes were too tall. Here is where I finally get irritated, since you have to enter my parents' property to check the bush's height. With Satan's 3 commandments in hand I go and visit my direct neighbor, who I knew were in the HOA board. I ask her about the gutter speak letters and she looks through them and laughs. Those are from the banshee of Arrakis aka the Mega Karen who lived 10 houses further down the street. She had been kicked out of the HOA board after she poisoned 3 dogs in the neighborhood with rat poison-laced treats. Not wanting to deal with her after she threw rocks at me when I was trick-or-treating as a child, I decided to let the case rest and leave my bushes be untrimmed like certain minority porn actresses often do. The boy, the planted bomb and the instigation. Fast forward a week into my parents' vacation. After being alone for 7 days, I finally mastered the art of playing Mozart's Requiem on the meat flute, and decided to do something else. As any teenager would, I started to plan a party, and like the good kid I was, I went around to all my nearby neighbors and warned them about the potential noise, which parties tend to create. At some point here, in my post-nut clarity, I remembered the saying, witches be fading, but a good Counter-Strike match lasts forever. Instead of holding a straight-up party, I decided to invite friends over to a LAN party, so we could play Counter-Strike Source, and quickly replace the white blood cells in our body with whatever was in the knockoff energy drinks. Fast forward to said LAN party. My parents' dining room smells like teenage farts, Axe body spray, sweat and all chips in the world mixed together. Typical LAN stuff. 1 a.m. there is a loud knock on the door. I go out, to see 2 cops looking at me with a surprised Pikachu face. I look at them with the same amount of confusion. Cop 1. We have a report that there is a loud party going on, and there might be several minors doing drugs here. Me. Does energy drinks count as drugs? Cop 2. No? Me. Then I have no idea what you are talking about. Cop 1. We had a frantic woman calling constantly, which is why we came, but it seems we are more of a disturbance than you guys are. At the same time, one of my friends can be heard in the background. Op, get in here. The bomb has been planted and you are the only one alive. Cop 1. Counter-Strike? Me. Counter-Strike. We will leave you to it then. Cops left and we lost the match. Unrelated though. 2 days after, I get another knock on my door. There she is, the bane of all good, she who must not be mentioned without carrying Marak's sword and a towel on you. She starts screaming that me and my drug party kept her up all night, and that I'm a horrible brat, who needs to tend to my bushes if my parents doesn't want to lose the house. At this point I stop her and remind her that, 1. The HOA doesn't have the power to do that. They hardly have the power to do anything except approve of house owners' requests. 2. That she was kicked out of the HOA due to the poison incident. 3. That I didn't even have a party for. That she needs to stay the hell away from my backyard. She got even madder and started screaming that she would have me, and my parents arrested, and that the poisoned treats were meant for my dog as well. I slammed the door on her faster than hyperspacing from Argos Row. She had royally pissed me off. No one threatens my good boy. No one. Perfect legal pettiness. So now we are at our final act. My revenge. I had about 4 days before my parents returned, so I made them count. I called the police and visited my real HOA neighbor and got all the necessary approvals. Then I went over and talked with the neighbors surrounding her house. I would do all the yard work, which involved loud equipment around her house. Legally, we were allowed to make noise from 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. with yard work, but it's considered rude to do it after 5 p.m. That didn't stop me though. Like a druid on Paragon level 256, I just kept sending leaves and grass flying, as if all the bushes, trees and odd plants had pissed in my grandfather's ashes. She came out and screamed at me, even threw a rock at me. It brought back old memories, but I didn't care. I was gonna make as much legal sound as possible. Whenever she complained, I just told her that their plants weren't up to HOA standard. Friday rolls around. It's 8 a.m. Me and my friends are gathered in front of her house. We have all the tools ready, purchased by the blood coin of my insanity-induced labor the 2 days prior. It's time to make her pay. We turn on the speaker, the barbecue and crack up a beer. Speaker is set to the exact legal limit of how loud the music is allowed to be. Most her neighbors come out and join during the day, since I had invited them while killbilling their plants. She screamed constantly for an hour, called the cops twice, which left after seeing my permits from themselves and the HOA. That's right, witch. If you want a party to complain about, then you shall get the finest party of the Shire just outside of your house. We kept it up to the exact time limit. Edit. Oh boyo. First of all, thanks for all the upvotes, awards and kind words. Secondly, I guess my writing style is splitting the waters here on Reddit, and I will be the first to admit that I might have been a bit too crazy with the references, but hey. If I made just a single person's day better, then count me happy. Since I'm just an IT supporter and not a writer or anything of the sorts, I will save the constructive criticism for my next posts. I have a few stories left from my past to tell, because my pettiness has only grown in time, but due to the nature of some of them, I will first have to clear it with some friends. For those who haven't read my comments, all 3 dogs survived, and she was served and settled out of court. She moved a couple of years after my revenge took place, unrelated to the incident, and so did my parents, which means I don't know what happened to her in the end. Maybe she is dead, maybe she is being mean to some kid somewhere else, or maybe she turned around and became a nice person. The next story is titled, Karen threatened to report my husband for doing his job. Hi all. I made a post a few months ago about my husband experiencing a Karen in our I don't work here lady, but we finally had an entitled people incident. Background. My husband is a door-to-door sales representative for an internet, mobile company. He's required at all times to have his badge on him at all times that shows he works for them, but he also wears a shirt and neon vest that has the logo as well. He's definitely experienced his fair share of Karens a few times because people either don't believe he's a real salesman, regardless of the amount of logos everywhere, or because they just dislike the company. The Karen today happened to be one who didn't believe he was a real salesman. My husband knocked on the door as usual, and began with his usual, "Hi, I'm XX with so-and-so, just doing some work in the neighborhood, how are you today?" She immediately started a tirade of, "Do you have your permit on you?" He said, No ma'am, I'm not required to in this area. My job requires me to come out to these areas to help people get set up with our internet. but I do have my badge that shows the company I'm with and that I'm licensed with them. Karen said, well, you have to have your papers on you at all times to be out here knocking on doors. I'm going to report you to the city of so and I'll have you arrested. My husband of course was just like, okay ma'am, have a good day. She stops him and says, and tell, company name, to stop sending me mail, I don't like them. My husband cut her off and said, I'm not going to do that, that is way above my pay grade, and I can't do that. You'll have to call customer service and send a formal letter telling them to stop. Karen was baffled and said, fine, but I'm reporting you and having you arrested. My husband just said, you do that ma'am. I'm surprised at the amount of patience he has with people when they treat him like that, but if there's anything I've learned from reading these, is that either she's bluffing or she's actually done it, but good luck Karen. The next story is titled, Family Driveway Turmoil. My family resides in one of those rural areas, where lots of land has been passed down and split up between relatives for many generations. Imagine growing up on a road, not only named after your family, but more than half of your family resides at some point on said road. Naturally, this leads to some drama every decade or so. In more recent years, there was a dispute over a road sign being placed on said road, causing different branches of the family to begin to hate and act petty against one another. While I was not directly affected by said drama, I could not help but participate to help piss of the other side of the family, mostly due to them being jerks to my brother. My family can be very old school, and if someone messes with your siblings, you take their side. This war went on for years, with family complaining about family to the township, state police and so on. These complaints came from side A, as we will call it, and my side, side B, really just laughed off their efforts and tried to antagonize side A through various annoying means, all of which were legal. That is where my part in this story comes along. Our road is half public, half private, with side A living on the public side and side B living on the private side. Naturally, anything we did would piss off side A, but one thing that really irked them was if I drove over 10 miles per hour on the road. Being a legal road, the speed limit was 25, which was the speed I chose to go. On a dirt road in the summer, you can imagine that how much dust rose up, constantly making their houses be surrounded by a dust bomb. Their answer to my fast driving and dust clouds were to pull onto our private road and peel out, spewing rocks and dust and all that. While I did not care that they did this, side B is not easily bothered. I saw my opportunity to mess with them in a way that they could get in legal trouble. One day, when they were outside, I made sure to drive by super fast and raise as much dirt as possible. This was right at dusk. Once I hit my part of the driveway, I backed into a small garage and shut my headlights off, and waited. Lo and behold, side A pulls in and backs into our road and was about to peel out, but I turned on my headlights, blinded them and blocked them in on our private road, right under our no trespassing signs. Since we live in the middle of the woods, they really had nowhere to go and were stuck under my mercy. I proceeded to take pictures and call the state police about trespassers in our driveway. That day, they got slapped with warnings to leave side B alone and not trespass, had everything that happened documented, and so on. So essentially, all their complaints were bullshit. We irked them enough to do something stupid enough to get them in actual trouble. It was grand. Side A called and tried to apologize and settle the feud after that. It was a glorious day for side B. The last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for refusing to share my lottery winnings with my boyfriend's nephews? Children in our country sometimes sell stuff for their schools to fund school trips, etc. I think many countries do that, so I don't need to explain more. Usually, it's around big holidays. We have a Christmas lottery. Something many schools sell. My boyfriend and I have been together for 13 years and we are happily child-free. We have good incomes and comfortable living. My boyfriend's sister and her husband also have good incomes and comfortable living, but I feel sometimes that she always tries to hint that we make more than we spend because we don't have children, no shit Sherlock, and that maybe we should give more presents and stuff to her 2 sons. I don't agree. I put around 30 to 60 euros on a present, and whether it's good or bad I don't care. I come from money. Well, my parents had good jobs, but we learned from young age that it's never the value of the present. And I had the happiest upbringing. Anyway, the sons get a couple of dozens or more lotteries each to sell, and the idea is to go around the neighborhood etc., but they're too lazy and they make the family buy everything, and since my boyfriend and I have nothing important to spend money on, we end up buying the majority of the tickets. Around 200 to 300 euros worth each occasion. It pissed me off a bit in the beginning, but my boyfriend seemed uncomfortable saying no and I hate making him uncomfortable, so I said oh well. This Christmas I won about 150k euros. I was so happy because I never win stuff. When the nephews heard this, they wanted their ticket back. I was shocked and said, hell no. They called me like 50 times and my boyfriend's sister and her son showed up next morning to talk, then argue, then fight me. Then she asked to at least split it 50-50 with them, but I wouldn't budge. All three left in tears saying they will take me to court. My boyfriend wants me to split or I'm being an a-hole. I usually donate 20% of my bonuses, inheritance or any big chunk of money I get to charity. I thought I would do that and buy the boys the bicycles they were saving for, cost around 2,500 each, I don't know why. But now I won't even buy them the bicycles. Am I the a-hole? Edit. My boyfriend is the one who pays for the tickets. He then splits the tickets. The winning ticket was one of mine. Update. Thank you for the, not the a-hole. I'm glad to see that there's nothing wrong with my common sense. I was starting to doubt myself. Many people here told me that I have a boyfriend problem. I never thought I had to be honest. We are mostly happy, and our fight are always about stupid stuff. Anyway, I told him that we needed to talk. I told him that it hurt me that he stood there and even if he didn't support his screaming sister and children in our own home, he showed little support to me, trying to defuse the situation by asking me to compromise. For me, some things are just right or wrong. There's no place for compromise. I felt that situation was. I explained it to him, and he agreed. I told him that I don't want to take the role of the rich aunt who spoils her relatives' children. This has been a thing. Like people, especially my boyfriend's sister, would easily tell her children, oh, go ask uncle for this instead of us, he doesn't have children, he can afford it, when it comes to more expensive things. Same thing with the tickets. We ended up buying 20 out of the 24 they were supposed to be selling. Now I told him that we should stop. None of our relatives want for money and nobody is entitled to ours. I don't want to buy tickets. I don't want to spoil others' children. I'm not the rich childless aunt. He said he agrees with me. About the taking me to court, it was just a bluff. She can't do anything about it. I knew it, but I asked my neighbor who's a judge and she just laughed. I wasn't the one to tell about our winning. My boyfriend did. He is painfully naive when it comes to these things. He thought his nephews would be happy to have sold a winning ticket. I haven't told the children about the bikes. I just knew they were saving for expensive bikes and thought that I could get them instead. I won't be doing it. Let them save for their dream bikes. Thank you for listening.